Shalom, shalom, my brothers and sisters. I just want to tell you, thank you so much for being here with us on the Black News Network, BNN 247. We're coming at you live this Sunday from 3:30 to about 4:30 or whenever the show may end. Today, we have a topic for you that we've been omitting from our conversations because nobody want to ever talk about it. It is time to talk about it. So, without further ado, this is the Black News Network, the real voice of Black USA. We are advertising today from the desk of the Emissary, and I want to be your host today, if you don't mind, Brother War Smith-Bey. We are broadcasting from a Black perspective. We don't own the rights to the music, but we do own the rights to what we say. I would like to introduce to some and present to others, not only then my co-host, my long-term friend, Mr. Claude Foster.
Hello,
I
my
want to thank him and the rest of y'all for being here tonight. So, Mr. Foster, bring us on in.
Hello, my brother. How's it going today? Glad to be with you for another episode of BNN 247, the network that tries to educate. And this is one of those shows where, after the show is over, you can be wanted by the FBI.
You saying it right that time.
Because I mean, this is a subject.
Dream.
Yeah, this kind of show will get you in trouble.
Yeah.
But we're gonna speak truth to power today.
And that's exactly what we do. Every Sunday, we bring truth to power. I just want to tell you, man, I had a dream last night about me trying to cross the border into another country. It wasn't Mexico, but it was another country. And the first thing they did is stop me at the border and said, "Hey, are you so-and-so?" I don't even know what the word they were saying. It was a foreign word. And then I said, "Hey, you're going to have to get a translator up here because I don't know what you're talking about." So he brought his supervisor up and he said, "Are you part of a supremacy group?"
Yeah.
And I said, "No, I'm a minister. I'm coming in to speak the truth." And he said, "Okay, let him on in." But the thing that came to my mind was the Black News Network. I was saying, "Oh shit, all these damn shows and got me on the damn radar."
Well, you can bet the show anything that tries to inform, empower, educate is on the radar screen. I mean, this country has a history of monitoring shows like this, people like this. So don't be surprised if that dream wasn't a reality.
Right? Yeah. And I think the beauty of it all, Claude, is that I ain't got no reason to bite my tongue. I served my country. I did what I was supposed to do. So did you. And, we got no shame.
But, when it comes to this country, your service to your country gives you no extra points as a black man.
Mm-hmm. You're right. You're still black.
You're still black. And in fact, if you use that knowledge and that empowerment that you gain from military service to help your people, you're going to be on the FBI's most wanted list.
Anyway.
So, I mean, the whole subject of gun control is racist. Because we're the only. I mean, you give a black man what do you think when you say a black man and gun? What conjures up in your mind?
Jail time.
I mean, what do you think though? What conjures up in your mind when you say black man and gun?
In my mind, the way I think, I don't think it's
not your mind, but
the Black America.
Right.
From whose perspective, though, Claude?
From society's perspective. Trouble, looking for trouble, gonna start trouble, gonna rob, gonna steal, gonna shoot, gonna murder, gonna mayhem, all of that. And that kind of talks about the racist nature of gun laws in this country.
And us talking about it today.
And it's kind of funny. I was doing some research. Guess who signed the first gun laws in this country? What president?
Don't have no faintest idea who.
Lyndon Baines Johnson.
Good. That's a good one.
Lyndon Baines Johnson. The same guy that signed the Voting Rights Act, the Fair Housing Act, and all that legislation.
And he was a result of the Kennedy, right?
Well, they said, like Dr. King got killed in the 60s, Robert Kennedy, John Kennedy. So that was a whole lot of murders going on in the
during
country.
that time.
But there was always this debate about whose philosophy works. I mean, do you turn a blind eye like Martin Luther King and the
Mm-hmm.
whole put down your life like all the Indians did for Gandhi,
Mm-hmm.
or do you fight back? And who got most of the notoriety? Who got most of the awareness in the press? Who was the darling of the press? It was
Mm-hmm.
Dr. King because he had a nonviolent position.
Yeah.
But you didn't hear about people like Robert Williams and people like that, that
Mm-hmm. Malcolm X.
and Malcolm X that believe, that saw America. There
For
is
what it
nowhere in the world where people have peacefully won their rights,
right. It just don't happen by talking about it.
except
And
that God,
you know
when
what?
when,
That
when
is the
the,
most profound statement you just made. I mean, I love that statement. You said nowhere in the world. Say that one more time.
nowhere in the world have people won their rights by peace. I
Yeah.
mean, Gandhi, even Gandhi talked about the need for the taking up arms. But
Mm-hmm.
when the Indians got their independence from the British, those people just kind of sacrificed their lives because there's so many of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's only
Billion.
like 40 million of us.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you know how many Indians the British killed?
40 billion. A lot.
It was it was somewhere in that number. But
Mm-hmm.
but in America, uh, you know, the press loves someone that talks about peace and about, but we're citizens. We've
Mm-hmm.
been citizens from the beginning. We fought during the formation of this country.
The Korean War.
No, go
Civil,
back
even
to
the Civil War, the Revolutionary War too.
right. So we're citizens.
Yeah.
We have a constitution that say we're citizens.
I don't know about all that.
Why we can't defend that?
uh, hey, because we're significant only when there's a need for numbers. We're not significant when it comes to our being a citizen. We're not significant when it comes to us perpetuating the American dream. We're not a citizen when it comes to us being human.
Yeah.
We're a citizen only in number. That's it. They needed numbers for what? The well, I talk the Civil War because that's when it's most documented. We
Right.
only profound when we come in as numbers for the Civil War, which they were on the border of losing unless they got an influx of many people, and they offered all these opportunities to slaves. And then when the slaves took it, we ended up becoming somewhat marked in history for making the wave change.
Right.
We almost lost the Civil War,
Right.
and we and black people made that difference. But
Right.
after the Civil War, we were still niggas because nobody wants to see us elevated at the same level as anybody.
Well, right there in Mississippi, your own protege, Fannie Lou Hamer, say that she had a gun in every corner of her house. You know,
She had to.
because she had to, but she wasn't. You have an individual right to protect your space. Now, in certain southern states, they took that right away. Blacks couldn't own guns,
Right,
couldn't have a weapon.
right.
So even blacks that had guns to protect their own space was in violation of those southern laws. But it was like the United States basically told us be your own country and come up with your own rules. The 14th Amendment had made us citizens
Mhm.
with all the rights of citizenship. How could the South take those away and we don't
And
and
it already being solidified.
it's the 14th Amendment. It was like we was in two
I can tell
countries.
you, can I answer? I can answer that.
Go ahead.
See, we have never ever been on equal playing fields in this country. Every single thing was done in as a result to get something else.
Hmm.
Even us being the 3/5 of a man, that was only done to get something else. The Emancipation Proclamation was only done to get something else.
Yeah,
So
but
go ahead.
once it was done, once the 14th Amendment gave us citizenship rights as full citizens of this country. What right did the South have to keep the? Why didn't the one part of government that gave us the rights fight for our behalf in the other part of the government that was trying to deny our rights? Why
So
did it take until the 1960s
for it to be brought to the head,
for it to be brought to the for us to get
well,
full
if
and
you
and
ask
we
this,
still don't have full rights to this day.
no, let me ask you this: what makes you think the 14th Amendment gave us citizenship, though? Okay, I think you might have hit a button, and he'll be right back. Claude, the question was, what about the 14th Amendment makes you think you are a citizen? So you can't just look at one particular thing in America and think that it flows the way it is, because there's something missing here. And what's missing is this. After the Civil War, the 11 states that fought for the Confederacy were denied citizenship in the Union of America, which were the northern states. So, in order for those 11 states that fought with the Confederacy against the Union Army, for them to become citizens of the Union states, the United States, they had to take the oath of amnesty. And see, we think that that document didn't mean a damn thing. So we don't even know, many of us don't even know about this oath of amnesty that had to be taken by our people. Many of us, the 11 southern states, I've talked about it before, these 11 states had to take it in order for them to become citizens of the Union. And if they didn't take it, their citizens' rights were not granted. So,
But you asked me a question
yeah, I did.
before I lost you, and I
Mhm.
said the 14th Amendment, because the 14th Amendment says clearly that all persons born or naturalized in the United States and of the states wherein they reside, no
Mhm.
state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges and immunities of citizens of the United States, nor
Mhm.
shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of the laws, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of its laws. Why didn't the federal government enforce that?
If you say give me liberty or give me death, does that apply to you?
Yeah, it should.
Do you think if a white man said it and then you turn around and said it, do you think you hold the same weight?
Yeah, but it shouldn't be a question of whether I'm white or black. I'm a citizen.
But it is.
You're a citizen. So,
Color in the United States runs premier in everything. You remember sitting in the balcony when you went to the movies, don't you?
yeah, yeah, but my government had no right to allow that to exist.
But they
To
did.
denial of those.
Even the Senate today, the Congress, the Senate, everybody in Washington, D.C., 50% of those people were here when they were hanging and castrating and burning and breaking in our house and raping our women. They
And
were
you know,
there.
and you know the irony of that, what you just said?
What?
Can you name in history where any of those people that perpetrated those crimes have ever been convicted in court? Any court.
No,
Federal court, state court,
no,
any
because the same
jurisdiction.
people exist today in our government. The same people or the descendants of the same people. And they are not going to convict their own for something that they agree with. Why would they
See,
convict you if you agree with it?
well, see, I hold it, like,
So the rules say, like you say, I'm sorry to interrupt. The
no.
rules that are out there say differently. But as far as the people, let's look at something we say that we don't really abide by. We say things that we don't always abide by. Like we go to church on Sunday, many of us do, and we're the most holiest person there is, sitting up in that pew worshiping God in Allah. But then we roll down the street and we ready to do some road rage on somebody. mess around and get in my damn way. We'll see what happens.
But why did the media in America and the press and the news media and all the institutions that kept us down love Dr. King and despise Malcolm? Why did they?
Because Dr. King was promoting their agenda.
Well, was
Keep
he
diplomacy.
well, not necessarily their agenda, but their approach to dealing with us.
There was no approach.
Because I
Well,
mean,
they accomplished one thing with Dr. King:
well, well,
mentality.
in defense of that, it takes a lot of savvy to convince the majority of people. And Dr. King was able to do that, whether it was the Montgomery bus boycott or whether it was on a national scale after the Montgomery bus
So
boycott, to convince the masses of people that this is the best strategy to win your rights in this country. I mean, it
look
takes
at
some
what
skill.
year
It took some
did
skill.
look at the year Martin Luther King started. There were years, I mean 50, 75 years before Martin Luther King of black freeness. We were not slaves way before Martin Luther King came on the scene. And then the people that were the black people that were prominent, which the first one we knew about, like you were saying a minute ago, was Fannie Lou Haman or Harriet Tubman, but she was doing slavery. After slavery, the first one we know about is Fannie Lou Hamer, and maybe that Madam C.J. Walker.
Well, you had Robert Williams, who was the
Mhm.
president of the NAACP in Monroe, Louisiana. I mean, Monroe,
But
North
this is
Carolina.
recently though. This wasn't back in the turn of the century.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is the strategy, and you got to remember where Dr. King was educated in Boston, and
Mhm.
you got to remember the people of Boston in terms of the the kind of people, the intellectuals in Boston, and what they believe, and where he got his initial training from, and what I guess what I'm saying is whether you agree with Dr. King or not, it takes a lot of expertise to you can't convince five people to go along with what you say.
You're right. What do you want from
Imagine
having
Dr.
What do you want from having a Martin Luther King though? What do you want from that? What do you
Well,
expect to gain?
what did we get from having a Dr. King?
But you got exactly what they expected you to get. That's exactly what they wanted you to get. They
What
gave you him to get what they got.
what was that?
Nothing. They gave you Martin Luther King to get what you got from him, which is nothing. See, they couldn't give you Malcolm X because if you'd have kept Malcolm X, you'd have got something from that. Why would they give you him? That's what it's all about. It's about what you get in the outcome. Just like when you train a child, it's about what you get in the outcome. If you invest in that child, you expect something from that child.
Right.
And you invested in Martin Luther King, you expected something from him. Nothing.
Well, I guess what I'm saying, but see, I guess I'm back to this whole thing about citizenship.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the Brown. What did Brown v. Board of Education really do?
Nothing.
I mean, we're children of the '70s. The '70s graduating.
It destroyed our momentum. That's what it did. We were on our way to be an entity in a country until Brown versus Board of Education. We were on our way. We had our own schools. We had our own grocery stores. We had our own everything.
And
Right?
and back to this,
Nothing there.
you're exactly right. Because back of gun violence, gun ownership, and what have you. When we got black political people in the '60s, or started getting black political people, and they aligned themselves with liberal whites, that's why it was black folks that decided to be against gun ownership or gun rights in this country. They joined that movement. This was back in the day. And so it's this political class. You can call it the middle class, but it's that class of folks that even to this day kind of dictate the direction that we go as a people in this country.
Did the Second Amendment change?
Because
No.
who do we have? Who else do we have,
Second Amendment ain't never changed.
Brother Warren? But who else? I mean, what other strategy at this moment, whether we're dealing with guns, and like your statistics say, 38% of white, 28% of blacks own guns.
Mm-hmm.
But it was two black guys. I looked it up. It was uh, it was two black plaintiffs, one in Washington D.C., uh, Shelley Parker, and another one in Chicago, Otis McDonald, in the 90s, that filed a lawsuit to allow gun ownership as it exists today. These were two black plaintiffs, not white, two black plaintiffs.
White
So,
people had nothing to fight about to get gun ownership.
well, but I still think that there is I think our whole strategy network, whether it's Dr. King, whether it's the church, whether it's this whole belief that just leave it to put it in God's hand and everything will be all. It's just when I look where we are today in these kind of discussions,
Mm-hmm.
you know, where are we? I mean, what
We're nowhere. We're nowhere because we failed to. I mean, you can't go from 0 to 35 and expect to be successful at 35. You got to go by the numbers.
but
If you skip
but
these other numbers, you up here trying to get this done without getting this done, then you're fighting a fight. You're not gonna win because you're neglecting some basic shit that you gotta have. In other words, you want to be a teacher in high school, but yet you don't want to go get your degree, and your objective is to be a high school teacher. You
well,
fail to understand something.
what I find, the older I get and the more we talk about this, what I find is what good are if the laws that made us citizenship didn't make us citizens, if the 14th Amendment didn't give us all the rights of citizenship, that we needed a voting rights act, that we needed a fair housing law. I mean, is what kind of
We need a civil rights act.
yeah, I mean, so what we're talking about now, trying to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. When do we get full citizenship status in this country to where we don't need laws? We don't need to keep fighting for laws that
As
have already been passed.
as our people, black, I'm gonna just put it. This is what it is, Claude. A lot of people don't want to face the music, but this is exactly what it is. As long as we're considered as black, colored, Negro, nigger, all other than a nationality,
But
then we
where,
have never ever put a foot in this country as a citizen. We
but
can be,
where,
you can be told that you're white. I can be told that I'm white, but I'm still not a citizen.
but where is the national will, and where is our political voices
We
to make sure we don't need another John Lewis Voting Rights Act. We don't need this
we
particular
didn't
act.
need Juneteenth, but look what
Well,
we got.
well, that's a celebration. That's an acknowledgement. But,
We didn't
but
need it
but why do we need laws if we're full citizens? If
because
the if the 13 if the
you
13th, 14th,
you
and
should
15th
realize,
Amendment made us equal,
you should
why
know.
do we need laws
You
every
ain't never been
decade?
equal, man. That's
Why
all.
do,
I ain't talking to you, but I'm saying we ain't never been equal. We have never been equal.
well, if that's true, how will continuing to pass laws make us how?
It,
Why don't
it's
we just enforce
it's
the
the
13th,
illusion.
14th, and 15th Amendment?
It's
Why
the
don't we just
illusion
enforce the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment? Where is the
because
will of
all
this
right.
country?
Answer this question, Clark. How many sections does the 13th Amendment have?
It's two sections, I think, right?
That's what they want you to believe. But the original ratified 13th Amendment has 20 sections.
Okay.
And there are two 13th Amendment ratifications, by the way. The
Okay.
first one has 20 sections. The second one only has two. And they took away the other 18 that gave us these little details that we're talking about now in writing. They're still there, but we have never put forth an effort to enforce it.
But
And
here's,
they won't do it for us.
but here's
And
my
we're not going to do it either because it puts us in a position to be demoted from the privileges they've given us already.
but here's my humanity question, and I hope some politician, some, if the Italians, if the whatever group that came here doesn't need all these amendments to address their full citizenship, why do we?
Why do we?
And,
What are they?
I mean, why can't our national government enforce our humanity
Because
without all these?
it's obvious. What are they? Italians. What are they? Chinese. What are they? Japanese. What are us? What are we? Color.
We
Black.
we was on the boat at Appomattox fighting the British.
Of course, but what are we? They were British, but what were we?
We were Americans.
We were slaves.
Okay.
Why do they put the only word you see that refers to us is what? In the Constitution? Slave.
But once we were unslaved, why isn't the why does not our federal government, with all of its powers, enforce our citizenship rights without all these amendments, without the need for this or a need for why?
There's no reason for it. Why would they give you something when they already feel like they're already giving you too much? No. Why would they give you anything? You're not trying to. Seems like I'm buckling here a little bit, but what are you asking for? You're not asking for anything. You're not asking for anything. You're not even asking for equal rights. Why would they give you equal rights when you're not asking for it? Why would they give you reparations when you're not asking for it? And when I say not asking for it, you're not asking this federal government for it. You're not asking.
In fact,
you're not defending either.
In fact, the thing that disturbs me about legislation is not part of the Constitution. The Voting Rights Act, that's got to be done by by so many Americans. So those laws can be amended. They could be struck down. They could be just like they are, just like the Voting Rights Act.
There's only one department that's failing us in these Civil Rights Acts, these acts, and these amendments.
And what department is that?
The judicial branch.
But what I'm saying, but my
they're enforced.
But my point is, why are we the only Americans that need these laws outside of the constitutions?
Because you're not a citizen. That's it.
Yes, we are a citizen. The 13th, 14th, the 14th Amendment said that we're citizens.
Just because it said it.
And that's in the Constitution.
So the Emancipation Proclamation said we were free, right?
Yes.
But 2 days later, the Black Code said we were going right back to jail and being leased out to the plantation.
That's the Black Code. The federal government could.
But they can't go down to a state level and enforce the federal law.
Yes, they can.
Let's say you were a slave owner. Right?
They can go down. They can go down to the local level and enforce citizenship. That's what they did in the '60s. That's why the federal government went and told George Wallace, "You got to let this black woman into the doors of the university." That's why they did it in Mississippi. The federal government has that power to enforce the Constitution of the United States of America.
They also have the power to say we're not going to do anything. We're not going to go down to a southern state and say that you have to do A, B, and C. We can put that in federal law, but we can't go down and dictate what's going to happen in state law.
No, because I think when you look at most of the rights amendments that give us additional rights, saying that these can be enforced through appropriate legislation.
How can you be a citizen when you never ever proclaim yourself to be in this country? You never got proclaimed. You got proclaimed, I got proclaimed, but 99% of our American citizens, black, have never proclaimed. You know, only way you're a citizen right now is because you're military retired. Otherwise, you would not be.
No, I was a citizen long before that, brother.
No, Claude. Why do you have to take the oath of amnesty when you join the military then?
I don't know
If
whether you had
you
to
was
take the
a
oath of
citizen before
amnesty.
that, why did you have to take it?
I don't know about all that. I'm just saying that
You never was a citizen until you
the
did that.
13, the Constitution that governs citizenship in this country, that declares who's a citizen. I'm in that Constitution. The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments
Mm-hmm.
gave me the same rights as every other citizen.
Yes, it
Why?
did.
So why can't the federal government enforce those without requiring another bill or another piece of legislation or another? Why can't
You
they?
know, we don't have the right that everybody else have here, Claude. And it's just, I mean, and the sooner we put that in our heart and understand that about America, we can understand where we need to go from there. Why do you
Why
think
did?
nobody in Black Wall Street got paid for what they did to them?
Why did it take the federal government from 1954 to the 70s
We got a lot
and
of lies.
to the 90s in some places
Mm-hmm.
like Texas
Mm-hmm.
to integrated schools? I mean,
Because we're not equal. We're not considered the norm, what this country is founded on, what
well
it's
then,
for.
why don't our black elected officials or liberal elected
They,
officials?
they stand to lose too much, Claude. Why would I put myself online if they paying me well? If I've experienced this like Al Sharpton. He's experienced the American dream. He doesn't have a reason to fight against for us. What is he going to do for us other than show up somewhere and lead a march? What is he going to do? That's it. He know lawyers that can file a lawsuit. Why haven't he filed some lawsuits saying we demand that this lawsuit be sent to the Supreme Court? Why did they not put what's his name Ferguson,
Hmm.
Plessy versus Ferguson? Why did they not make him a citizen when we were already supposed to be citizens according to the 14th?
Hmm.
They said he was a slave, and that no citizen, no black person of African descent can be a citizen. The Supreme Court said this after the 14th Amendment.
But back to this whole notion, black folks have had a tradition of gun ownership,
Mm-hmm.
a tradition of taking up arms to
Shoot a white
protect.
man in
Huh?
1960. Shoot a white man in 1960. What happened?
Well, you
What
definitely
self-defense or what? What happened?
well, wouldn't even be a trial,
It'll be a lynching.
be a lynching, and I'm saying that the government allows. I mean, I, I hear your argument about the fact that we're not full citizens, because if we were full citizens, we
We're not
wouldn't constantly need a set of laws being passed at the whim
back.
of our government to
Mm-hmm.
make us equal in this society. Whether it's the right to bear arms, whether it's voting rights,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's educational rights, you
Okay,
know.
so I did write down when the Second Amendment was ratified, but I don't have it in front of me. But
I don't.
think about it now. If the Second Amendment was ratified in 1868 or
I'm looking at here.
1861, why is it that in 1862 only white men could have guns? Black people were still slaves. We couldn't have guns. We didn't have a single right
Well, it
in the
doesn't say
Second Amendment was
it doesn't say white people now.
it doesn't have to. We
It
were
says
not
people.
citizens when it was
It
passed. Second Amendment now, not the 14th, the
I'm
second.
talking about the Second Amendment. But once we were citizens, the Second Amendment applied to us
How? Just
because.
because it was done before it got to us?
So you're saying that certain parts of the Constitution does not apply to us?
That's exactly what I'm saying. How can something that happened 100 years ago apply to what's new for us today? It doesn't.
So you're
They're not
saying that
citizens.
the Second Amendment is what gave them Southern white law enforcement officials the ability to come in our homes and confiscate our guns.
No, the mentality of the Southern white men gave them the right to come into our homes. Because they have never considered us as a citizen or a peer or an equal participant in the American way.
Well, that's where the federal government comes in.
How can they come to your state and tell you what to do? They can't. Just like I can't come to, let's say I'm the federal government, you're the state government, right?
No, I know what's the
Yeah.
reality. I'm saying what should be. I'm
Hmm.
saying that as a citizen of the United States of America, I should need another law passed for my protection.
Claude, we 100 on this, my brother. We 100. But you and I both know that in the United States of America, our our citizenship question has always and will always be questionable until they get out of our way. And they're never going to get out of our way as long as we maintain the status quo with Congress, the House of Representatives, the legislative, the executive, and the branch,
Judicial.
the judicial
But
branch.
what demands do we make though?
We don't make any. Because if you decided to stand up and make a demand, you disappear. If decided to stand up and make demands, I would disappear. Unless we start stand up and make demands as a group, we all gonna disappear because they taking us out one by one. Look at all those 397 black men that's been killed by police officers. Each one been killed individually. That's how they do it. Each time they put somebody in prison, they do it individually. That's how they do it. And how did they go from 300,000 to over 1 million people in jail in less than 20 years? That because they targeted a particular culture of people, and it was the men of our culture. And the only thing that kept me out of jail is the military
Right.
and thousands other ones because of the military. And they gave us a choice. You go to jail or go to the military. Some took jail and some took the military.
No, you're right. The prison industrial system has it might as well be a noose around black folks' neck because it's one of those systems. And I guess that's what I'm getting at about whether we're talking about gun ownership, whether we're talking about our rights in this country.
Mm,
There's been a system set up to disadvantage us.
absolutely.
And we have elected officials that look like us now. It is
Mm,
their jobs to go in and change those systems, those structures that disadvantage us. And I just don't see that.
it's
I
not
just don't
happening.
see that happening.
It's not happening because they're comfortable.
I just don't see
Our
any
people
attempt.
as a whole, we're not comfortable. But as individuals that are in those positions, they are comfortable. Like let's say John Lewis, for instance, right? Love him to death. And what you say he fought for us to have our lives changed. But what other than him walking across that bridge did he do?
Well, but like I told you, I don't know too many human beings that can amass a mass of people to get them to be subject to all kind of abuse, to
Mm.
be locked up in southern jails where you know they could do anything with your
Like Martin
body.
Luther King.
Well, but what I'm saying, that's what. How many people could do that?
What avenue did
How many
what
black?
highway did he take to do this? He took the highway that the white man gave us to leave the plantation with.
But brother, listen
Our
to what.
request to give us anything to leave the plantation.
But listen to what I'm saying is that whether it was Dr. King's approach or whether
Could
it
have been
was
anybody.
anybody's approach that was acceptable to the white establishment, right?
Mm,
Because Dr. King was a darling. Dr. King was loved by the media and all this and elevated
mm.
because of his approach.
Th- If
If,
you
if, if
take
Dr.
the
King had
principle,
to, if Dr. King had to use his own skills
we'd have
to
been
tell
better off.
black folks to arm themselves,
He'd have been dead quicker. He'd
you think he would have been a darling of the
have been dead quicker, man. He'd have been gone.
I mean, so what I'm saying is, even putting that aside,
Mhm.
there are not too many people of leadership that can amass a mass of people and to get them to make the personal sacrifices that black folks made to
What's
gain.
the difference in finding somebody like Martin Luther King and finding a good stock in the stock market? What's the difference?
Yeah, no, I'm not critical of Dr. King. I'm saying that there are not too many people in the world that can get a mass of people to do a certain thing and to put their personal lives at risk to achieve a certain goal.
What minister? Martin Luther King, did he ever have a church where his
Yeah,
congregation
yeah,
followed him?
Dexter Avenue Church in Montgomery. It was
How long was he
primarily
the minister there?
well,
A long time.
he was in his 20s there,
All
and he
right.
was elevated to that
Wait.
leadership position by Reverend Nixon and those guys that
Mm,
was part of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference at the
mm.
time. Those were
So
the leaders.
why?
Dr. King was young, he was well educated,
What
and
about
he
now?
was.
Who do we have now
Who
that'll
do
be
we have?
behind black preachers? Why have Tony Evans? He's done fell off.
Because they don't have the
T.D.
skill set.
Jakes.
Because they
But
don't
they
have
got
the.
thousands of members that with the skill sets.
Wait a minute. Now, wait a minute. Back up a minute. You
What?
think the members of any of those churches gonna put their lifestyle on the line for you?
Well, Martin Luther King did it.
Martin Luther King did it, but the Martin Luther King types wasn't the
He
one
didn't
putting
put it on the
themselves on the
line for
line.
us though.
Who did we put it? I mean, the people marching across the bridge in Selma, they put it on the line for us.
Because
Those,
they did not. They were
those
not
wasn't
aware.
rich people.
No, but they
Those
didn't
wasn't the
know. They
privileged
only
people.
knew the dream. That's all they
No,
knew.
what they knew was.
They believe. They believe. That's like you. Many of us believe we going to heaven.
But what I'm saying, my brother, is how many people do you know? Can you name that could motivate that kind of those kind of people?
As
Where's the
many
person?
black people.
Where's the person that can come along right now and motivate the black people at the
Mm.
bottom of the well
So do
to
you think
stand up?
Roland Martin, because he's an advocate. You think he can stand out there in the street and start preaching? Let's do something. Let's do something. What happens? He's not gonna get the same people he's got right now that are
Where's
passively following him.
where's the
Every one of
people?
these preachers got a passive audience. They're not trying to make a change. They're trying to make a change for themselves. That's it.
Yeah, but that's different than having a passive.
Not for the culture, but for
That
themselves.
I mean, there's a difference between being the father of your two children and being the father of a million children.
Mhm.
You know, there's a
Yeah,
difference.
yeah.
I'm saying that there are poor people that go to churches that supposedly represent their interests, that are looking out for that
What are they
constituency.
looking for?
I don't know. Do you ever see them? I mean, Reverend Barber on
You
a
can go to
national.
the NAACP and say that. Well, do you ever see them?
Well,
No,
but
I never see them other
yeah,
than
but
that 1 year, once a year.
but the NAACP, you know, its agenda and its strategy is pretty much like Dr. King's strategy. It's a nonviolent strategy. It's a lay your life on the line strategy. Kind of like Gandhi.
But it doesn't make a difference.
He got his vision. I mean, he got his strategy from Gandhi, where those millions or billions of
Who?
Indians laid down their life for independence from Britain.
All right, so
But
why
but
do
but
you
that's not
see
us.
they laid down Martin Luther King's name all over the country because they saw how he could pacify our people?
What? But it wasn't pacifying our people. It was
Well,
a
what was it if it wasn't?
well, hindsight. You could say he pacified us. Think about it. What leader do you know that was able to do what Dr. King did is still alive?
They're not. They're nowhere they existed.
And
Nowhere.
despite his nonviolent strategy, he was
Mm.
still killed, murdered.
Because he had changed his strategy. He was
Right.
turning his
No,
strategy.
no, I think he was killed over the Vietnam War.
Why?
because that's money. War is
I
money.
mean, why would they kill him over the Vietnam War, though?
They didn't kill him from 1950 to 1960.
No,
The
because
Montgomery
he
bus
promoted
boycott
their
was in the
agenda.
50s. Now, but listen to me. The Montgomery bus boycott was in the 50s. He
Mhm.
was not killed till 1968 when he
But they
started
were not
speaking out in
aware of his
opposition.
power before the 1968 murder.
I'm just saying that I don't know of too many people that has the oratorical skills and
Mhm.
the kind of background that can marshal the kind of black folks that we need for change. I
Do you
think,
think we need that?
well, I think, well,
You
politics
don't
not
think we
work.
got it? We're intelligent enough to know when we're being wronged by society? I do, but you think we're going to do something about it?
But we keep saying we.
Yeah,
What,
because we want to assimilate. We want to be like them instead of being like ourselves.
well, but being, I think we, I think middle class black Americans want to be American. They want to be treated as
They don't want
Americans,
to be
full
American.
citizenship.
They don't want to be American. They want to be white or like the white. They want
Well,
to live
well,
like the white. They
that's
want to eat like the white. They want to drive cars like the white. They want to do everything that the white man do. That's what they want to do.
well, no, I think they want to be American. They want to be.
That's that's right. That's
They,
exactly what it is. White is it's solidifies American. Black solidifies want to be American.
that's
That's
because that's because we're still looking for full equality in this country,
yeah. We
and
want full equality equates to being American.
and our full equality is based on a patchwork of laws. No other group equality is based on a patchwork of laws.
Let's
Name
say
a,
you
I
and
mean,
I both. You black.
other, where,
Come on.
other than where, that's based on a patchwork of laws. Other than in Israel.
You black. I'm white. We both go to the store and want to buy a 9 millimeter Ruger P95 handgun. You and I are standing at the counter. You already know I'm going to get service before you, regardless. I don't care what you do. I'm going to get service and I'm going to be done before you, no matter what you do.
I
You
mean,
may do
if we had a customer service, if we walk up into the counter at the same time,
at the same time. The white guy may come to you first, but he's going to service the white man first. You already know it. And then if push comes to shove, you're not going to get your firearm right then. See, let me tell you why I'm saying that. Part. When I first started paying attention to what's happening with the firearms in the state of Texas, I noticed that 95% of the people with firearms licensing in Texas were Caucasian. Less than 1% of, well, 2% of the black population were licensed to have firearms. So look at it this way, 95% versus 2%, and the rest all other. So my point is, why is it not 95% of them knew that they could get a license and only 2%, well, 95% of them got licensed and only 2% of us did. So that was a problem. So my objective was to try and balance the load a little bit, even though I know we'd never catch up in the next 45 years. They changed the law before we could catch up. Like right now, they saw how our numbers were starting to increase. So they said, all right, we're going to fix this shit. You don't need a license anymore. You can damn open carry in Texas because they did that because too many black people were becoming licensed to carry. That's why they gave it open carry because there were white people saying, why all these niggas getting licensed and I can't get one?
so where does the open carry come in at?
Open carry came in when the numbers of the black population started increasing to a level that they could not control. So how do you control it? You give everybody the right to carry, open carry. But 9 out of 10 people can't. 9 out of 10 black people can't carry because they got some type of criminal background.
Some type of disability, yeah.
Something can stop them from carrying that weapon. But white people, whether they damn blind, crippled, or damn crazy, can still get a license and they can still carry a gun. You know, you don't see very many black people open carrying, but you see a ton of white people open carrying. their weapon.
But I tell you, when you see a black person in public with a gun, what do you think?
Get the fuck out of there, cause some shit finna jump off.
But I mean, what do you think all the biases that go with that image?
Shit. Why you think when a black man walks by, a white woman clutch their purse? Because of the phobias that's been created about our kind.
Right.
That shit don't change overnight. It's gonna take another 100 years to change that. And it's not gonna change because they want it to change. It's only gonna change if we make it change. And we're not gonna make it change with the leadership we have right now. Look at this is what I was just telling somebody today, that we try and find words to sugarcoat shit rather than telling it like it is. Like Hakeem Jeffries, right? Rather than him saying, y'all redneck motherfuckers up here in this fucking Senate, y'all doing this. Why won't y'all do what's right and stop the bullshit? He's not gonna say that. He'll say like, well, you know, the pigeon cannot swim, so he's not gonna be the one in the lake. He's gonna say some shit like that and expect everybody to understand what the hell he's talking about. He's trying to be politically correct. Fuck politically correct. That's what our problem is. Everybody want to be straight and say the right damn thing at the right damn time, but you're getting fucked in the process.
But that's the history of our.
Yeah. We need to change that shit.
I mean, but everybody. I mean, John Brown didn't miss his word. I mean, there are people in history that have stood the ground for black rights.
Why you think Jack Johnson left the country?
Because he was married to a white woman?
Damn right. Because they were finna prosecute his ass in Georgia. And he left the fucking country and he went to Cuba and his mother wanted to see him, so he thought he could sneak back in here and see his mother.
Well, that was a lot of laws implemented in the southern states that keep us, and the federal government failed to intervene because of states' rights and states. And I'm saying that the federal government could fix that just like that.
Yeah, they can pass a law, but it's not going to make a difference. If the Emancipation Proclamation did not change the way the country was running, what makes you think a new law going to do it? The Emancipation Proclamation laid it out, all about compensation, all about property, all about shipping us back to Africa.
When my grandmama walked into the Dallas,
none of that shit took place.
When my grandmama walked into the Dallas County Courthouse to register to vote, and they told her to guess how many marbles was in this jar, that should have been the federal government should have intervened.
But they didn't. Why they allow them 3 boys down in Shelby County, Mississippi to get murdered before they decided to put the federal government down there? It ain't like they did not know shit was going on already. They knew it. Just like they know the laws that they put out are not going to be followed in some of these southern states, even in some of these southern towns. Well, why do you think 90% of the police officers that kill a black innocent man is not in jail right now?
Well, now to the defense of our country, we do have judges at all different levels that are striking down some of these bullshit laws. Like they just struck down this one about the voting thing, about Texas monitoring absentee voters or voters. It was a federal judge. I mean, so we got people in high places now throughout government.
But what's the easiest thing to do?
So a lot of this kind of stuff is not being.
White judges. Turn the other cheek.
But not just white judges. We got black judges at the federal, at the intermediate level. Well,
the one we all know is who is Clarence Thomas, right? Why don't he do something for us, like his predecessor, Thurgood Marshall? Why is he destroying Thurgood Marshall's name in Lexington?
What would be one thing that Clarence Thomas and Jackson, that Judge Jackson could do that could address the structural disadvantage that black folks have in this country?
They can team up and pull some of these racist laws and make them work on our behalf. They can make the state of Oklahoma pay that 1 or 2 last people from the Tulsa riots the billions of dollars that they're owed.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of injustice that needs to be cleaned up. You're right. There's a lot of injustice that
But
needs to
it
be.
can't. You can never fix what they've done to us. It can never be fixed. It will never be fixed.
Well, I don't agree that we keep going forward with legislation to to to
You think it can
to
be fixed though?
not through legislation.
Mm.
I think our federal government needs to enforce the Constitution of this country that we're a part of. The Constitution made us full citizens with full voting rights. So why should a state be able to? Why should the state of Alabama or the state of Mississippi be able to to discriminate against us when there's a constitutional amendment that says we have a right to vote? So why does the federal government needs to
This,
pass a piece
you,
of legislation? Why can't they just enforce? Why couldn't the federal government just go to Mississippi with federal troops every election cycle and say, "Come on, everybody that's eligible to vote, come on, vote." Why do we
you
need a piece of
already
legislation? Because
you can't. There are already legislations that say that you cannot use federal troops on a state level.
I know that, but that don't mean that that's got to forever be so.
No, it
That don't
ain't
mean
gonna,
it's got to
who,
forever
who, who
be.
made the law? They're not going to allow us to change that law. They know what's in their best behalf because to be honest, God, they are afraid to let us become normal people here in this country. They don't want us to be on that level because they are so afraid that we're going to turn the same shit that they've directed toward us. We're going to direct it towards them. So they will never change. Never.
Well, I'm a little bit more hopeful than that. That
Break
you
it
know
down.
that
Break it down.
that that we'll be judged like anybody else is judged. That race won't be a factor when it comes to determining our outcome in our country. This is our country. You fought for it. You know,
Yeah.
I served. So it ain't a let's go somewhere else proposition. I'm saying that,
You right.
I'm saying that we have political people now
Mm.
that we are not holding accountable,
That's
that we
exactly
are not
what we all know.
demanding
I agree.
that whether it's the people at the bottom of the well that Chuck keeps talking about, and I wish Chuck would come back to the show because he does bring a perspective
Yeah, he does.
that you and I may miss sometime, and I
Mm.
do think that there needs to be. I'm not saying that we need another Dr. King type
Mm.
of people. I
Mm.
think Dr. William Barber does a good job uh, of working to at least address the inequality that exists
Mm.
within that demographic.
Mm.
But I don't think that we do enough to hold. I think our politics has become more social than political.
Mm.
We
So, do you think the people at the bottom of the well can make a difference?
I think once they are fully made aware or fully educated to what the power that they do have. I mean, you know, the middle class, the black middle class, basically formulated the policy for integration. It was
Mm.
basically a middle class
So,
form.
but at that point in time, they all wanted integration. At
But
that
no,
point in time, that was the thought because we didn't have shit else. So we wanted
right.
what they had.
But I think that
Integration equates to we want what y'all got. That's what integration means.
yeah, but it was the new black political class that fought for integration.
But integration is we want what you got. And that's the problem. We always want what they have. We don't want what we deserve, what we should be pursuing. We want what they got. That's the problem. We don't need what they got. We need what we need to have on our own.
Well,
That's what they got.
and I think that we realize that, and I think that when you look at our when you look at our communities, when you look at our spaces in this United States, I
Mm.
just don't see the people that we elect addressing that concern.
Mm.
I just don't see them addressing that concern.
So
I
we're
mean,
going back to the Second Amendment. You already think that you said you think the bottom people on the bottom of the wheel can own guns just like the people at the top of the wheel. But when the police decide to do a no-knock warrant, like for Warner Brawley, they run up in your house because you're on the bottom of the well, and they shoot everybody in there, and nobody's held accountable
well,
until
that
years later.
well, you're entitled to have a gun to protect your space.
But you get killed in the process. How many
Well,
times you've heard them break up in a white folk of somebody's white house and killed everybody?
well,
You haven't.
I'm just saying what the law. I mean, there is a provision in the law that you have a right to protect.
Yeah, that provision doesn't apply to us, man.
Yes,
It
it
doesn't.
does.
It
Yeah.
applies to the U.S. citizens, not to us. You're not a citizen.
So you don't have a right to protect your home.
I
You
don't.
can't
But
have a
I will.
gun. Now, if you come to the front door with that gun because you thought you hear, like the guy that went to the front door in Alabama,
Mhm.
was it
Did he
Alabama?
open this door?
No, in Decatur, Alabama, a U-Haul. I mean, not a U-Haul, but uh, a
FedEx
company.
truck or what?
No, a company that repossesses your vehicles
Okay,
went to
repo.
the wrong house.
Mm-hmm.
So he comes outside with a gun because he thought somebody was trying to steal his car,
Mm-hmm.
and the cop shows up and shoot him dead.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good example of what I'm talking
Was he
about.
white, black, what?
He was black. The tow truck driver went to the wrong address. He
Mm-hmm.
come out of his house with his gun because he thinks somebody's trying to steal his car.
Mm-hmm.
And the white cops of
Do you
Decatur,
blame the
Alabama,
white cop?
huh?
You blame the white cop?
Yeah, I blame the white cops
I don't.
because
I
that would have
blame the
never
black dude.
happened. And this was a black middle class neighborhood
That's what I'm saying. I blame the black man because of ignorance. Why the fuck would you walk outside with a gun in your hand?
because you have that right.
No, you have the right to defend your property. If
And
he's
that's
on
what he
your
was doing.
property, why didn't
That's
you
what he was doing.
why didn't you bust a cap in his ass and go back in your house and wait for the police?
No, the tow
That's the
truck
problem.
driver.
See, we think the same laws apply for them that apply to us. They don't.
We're in the
If
same
you walk
country
outside with a gun in your hand, you can expect to be shot. You can expect to be shot
on your property.
on your own damn property, in your own damn house. If you're gonna pick your gun up in your hand, you better unload it, then put that shit down and put your hands up. Because if you walking around with it, they have the right to shoot your ass.
Well, this was at night. The
Okay.
cops didn't even make themselves aware. They just shot the guy. He was
Well,
in
he
his
should have
yard.
known.
He was in his yard.
That don't matter. Well, that's what I'm trying to tell
This
you.
just
It don't
you can
matter.
look up Decatur, Alabama, and look up the.
I don't have to. If he's walking out of the house with a gun in his hand, the police can shoot him and get away with
No, they can't.
it. They did. I bet you those police officers did not get prosecuted.
Not yet, but they're still protesting and marching, and
They can do all that shit anyway because they do it every time some shit happens. Protest and more. Don't get accomplished shit.
so how would a law fix that? Tell me how a law would fix
The
that.
law's already written. It tells you, and even in the state of Texas, if you see somebody bent over in your car, you have the right to use deadly force. You don't have the right to hold them hostage. You have the right to use deadly force. So you make a choice when you walk out that house with that gun. You either gonna shoot it or you gonna put that shit down. Otherwise, you are fair game. That's your
Yeah,
choice. You
but the
don't force
cops,
somebody to aim it at them.
the cop, they released the video. The cop shined the light in his face and shot him at the same time,
Was a gun in his
multiple
hand.
times.
Was a gun
Yeah,
in his
but
hand.
the gun was down.
It doesn't matter. Was a
It was
gun in his hand.
a young white police officer.
Don't matter. And he had a gun in his hand. So the white cop gonna go free. If he didn't have that gun in his hand and got shot, he'd stand a chance.
And see,
But
that's
right
what.
now, he's the cop free.
So
They
how
ain't
do
not
so
gonna
how
arrest him.
so how do we as black people and as black political leaders, how do we address that problem?
There's only one way. Educate yourself with what you and I have been talking about all along. It don't matter what the white folks can do. You can't do that. A white man shot at the FedEx driver here in Mississippi, and 2 3 years later they finally trying to bring him to trial. But then they find out that the sheriff is his cousin, the dispatcher is his husband's wife or the son's wife. Everybody in the fucking chain of command some kin to the shooter.
Well, things are changing. Look at that situation in Mississippi. Look at that
National attention, they gonna get away with it.
Look at that case in Mississippi where those cops went in and abused those 3 black men, and the federal government stepped in
That's the
and
only
and,
way they
and,
get caught.
and prosecuted.
Otherwise, they free. How long is that gonna go?
But what I'm saying, that's the role of the federal government. They didn't need a new law to address that.
Then why wasn't it addressed right after they did it?
Well,
Why would they even think they had the authority to go do that? Why did the chief or somebody started the damn wheels to turning the day after they did it? Why nobody knew that in the federal government until years later? It's been years.
Because it's Mississippi, and that's the way Mississippi rolls. And
People abuse black people, and then when the black people say something about it, then I didn't do that. I didn't have no knowledge of doing that wrong. I didn't know it was that way. You know, I can act that and they'll let me go because I plead innocent. I didn't know. I'm sorry. I'm just fucking around. But I'm just saying. I'm sorry, man.
But that's where people that Chuck is trying to get to the polls come in at, because people we got people in office in all the right places, in the judiciary, in the legislative, in all the different branches, the administrative branches.
Is any of that for us?
So this should not be keep happening.
Is any of it for us?
Well, they look like us.
Ain't nothing in this country, not a single executive, legislature, and judicial part of this country is on behalf of us.
It should be.
It's
because
not.
We're part of us. We're part of the U.S. That's us.
Yeah, as long as we don't inconvenience white folks.
And I don't think we'll never have another Dr. King to come along because the times are different. I don't think that we'll ever have that kind of a raider.
Let me ask you something. Is there a place in your hometown that you cannot go? Can you go anywhere you want?
There probably is, because there are places I don't go.
Not because you can't.
I don't.
You just won't.
There is no place in Selma that has a sign that says no black folks, right?
No
So
color.
so
Is there like a country club?
There's a country club there.
There's some black people there?
I think
Are they just not janitors or not caddies?
No, I think there's a couple of members. It's a country club. I mean, the town Selma has.
But the average person won't be a member, right?
No, because the average person can't afford it.
Can you take a non-educated black man that comes off the farm and walk into that country club?
But you're talking about another thing. But you're talking about something different. You're talking about class versus race. I'm talking about race. There's nothing racially to prevent a black person, if he's got the ability and the means, to go to that country club.
Why can't we build our own? I would not want to go to the country club. There are places that I have the right to go, but I won't go because I don't want to be around that class, that type of people. When I already know there's a restaurant in my hometown, all black folks in the kitchen, all black folks are wait services, but only white people sit down and eat there. Black folks won't sit down and eat there. If they want something, they'll get it to go. Ain't that some shit? That's still today, 2024.
Yeah. I can. Yeah.
We don't want to be there. We don't want to mix with them. That's what it's about. It ain't about whether we want to, but we can sit there, but we don't want to sit there. We want our own shit, but we can't afford our own shit. And that's why we suffer right now, because we don't own our own shit. And we can't own our own shit because they make sure we can't own our own shit. They take our money that we have worked so hard to earn during the week, and we take it and put it in the church, and the church put it in their banks, and their banks give it back to them.
Well,
It's,
now, but
it's a cycle.
now, but there are a lot of churches that have economic development. That have schools. That I mean, so I don't want to paint the
All
black.
churches fucked up.
I don't
All
want to paint the
churches
black
fucked up.
infrastructure as not being effective. I just think that we have a political class. We fought for a political class. This country is a political entity. It's founded. It's foundational.
What
Its
is our
foundation is
momentum?
political.
What's our momentum right now?
Well, like I say, I think that, you know, like
We don't have them. We don't
like
have them.
like the Supreme Court justice, right? When he struck down Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act, you know what he used?
What?
He said Selma, Alabama got a black mayor now. That was one of his arguments. And that is true. Selma, Alabama has a black mayor. They've had a black mayor for years now.
Mhm.
Jackson, Mississippi got a black mayor.
Yeah.
So
Look
therefore,
at the structure.
but
Look at what's happening.
so i.e. therefore, there's no need for pre-clearance anymore because black people
Let
are
me ask
running
you
the
something.
electoral systems.
No, you got black mayors, but you got white governors who give the money or allocate the money to the black mayors.
Right.
That's
And
why
I,
they fucked. They give you up a black mayor, but you fucked because you only gonna get what that white mayor that governor gonna give you.
and voting laws emanate down from the state level to the county
You don't
level.
have the power to fight your governor. Look at what happened in Katrina. What did nigga Nagin say? Excuse me for saying that. Mayor Nagin. What did Mayor Nagin say?
He said that New Orleans was gonna stay black, right, or some.
No, he said we're drowning down here. We're dying.
Oh, okay.
Get off your fucking ass and do something for us here in New
Oh
Orleans.
yeah, he did. He did.
And they sit there arguing between federal government, George Bush. They didn't ask. Then the mayor saying, well, we did ask, and then the president saying, well, we didn't hear him ask. They didn't ask me. You know, shit like that. They playing games when all these people dying.
Yeah. And and that's because New Orleans was a black city, and the people dying were black, and they
Mm-hmm.
had less value.
Mm-hmm.
And
But they could have done a lot.
but see, we put a lot of faith
And
and
white
sacrifice. Now, faith and sacrifice in this political system to elect people that look like us, so that those kind of situations would not be part of our history anymore.
it seems like black people being elected to your city makes it worse for your city.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what Mayor Reed said in Montgomery, Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
His daddy is Joe Reed. Look him up. The Democratic Party in Alabama is 99% black.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that they're at the state and federal level. I don't think that there are no white Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
And his son, who's the mayor of Montgomery, Alabama, said in an open mic, he didn't know the mic was open, that I gotta take care of white folks' shit first, because if I don't, white folks will pack up their shit and leave.
What happened in Charlotte?
And that's
No,
that's why being a majority black city don't really mean that much
don't mean shit.
in terms of
Think about it.
black
What
power.
happened in Charlottesville, North Carolina? All these black folks got elected to the Senate and the Congress. Thousands of white people from all over the state migrated to Charlottesville, North Carolina.
Hmm.
And they told those over 20 some black people who were in elected positions, they said, y'all got 24 hours to vacate. And guess what the black people did?
What's that?
Vacated. Because there was no support from the city. The people that put them there, they left them there. And so they left all those positions open, and white folks assumed those positions, and it never went back.
Mm-hmm.
That's why and then they start passing laws that don't allow us to get what we slip through the cracks with. So if we ever slip through the cracks and make advancements, then the next 10 years gonna create a vacuum. They're gonna pull us back through that damn crack we slipped through. Because we can slip, we can get through there, but we lose our momentum once we gain a damn inch. We forget about it and we want to celebrate and fucking march and act like we won. But then while we winning, they creating laws to put us right back where we started from. And they end up winning because they're still focused on fucking us over when we're too busy celebrating, thinking we won. We
Well,
only got, let me just say this last thing, and we're going back there. It's up to you. We only got one thing here, Claude, and that's sweat equity. Nothing else. Only sweat equity.
well, I just think that we can only go forward. We can't go backward. I don't think that we'll ever generate another Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He was just a man for his time, because any other leader
It's
that
gonna
had a
take us 100
philosophy
years.
other than Dr. King would have been murdered.
It's gonna take us 100 years to undo what he did to us. A
What did he do
long
to?
time.
What did he do to us?
He made us all pacifist. We became worshippers and turning the other cheekers. We
Well,
did.
well,
We,
what do you,
we
well,
lost
what do
our.
you think? Well, what do you think the alternative was? I mean, there were people that had an alternative message, like
We
R.N.
would have
Williams.
died. Many of us more would have died. But still today, you go into a city and you look at a white woman in some cities today. You look at a white woman, you're gonna die before you get out of that city. They just hung the boy up in North Carolina. Now they all the lawyers are going up there trying to get to the bottom of it. But the boy dead. How do they feel they got the authority to hang somebody in 2024? If they
Well,
feel like they got that authority, then that is the problem. There should be nobody thinking that they have the right to do those kind of things to our people, but they have it. And we have done nothing to negate it. We can't do nothing about it. We still don't do some of the things that we didn't do because of white people. For instance, if we in Walmart where there's a racist society and white people come along, we get out the fucking way because that's what our training is. How many times I ain't gonna say who did it. I'm in Walmart with somebody and white folks coming down the aisle. Some black person grabbed me and tried to move me out the damn way so the white person would get by. I said, what the? I went off because you don't move me for them. They know how to say excuse me like anybody else.
right.
And but the person that moved me didn't realize that that was the case. They don't want to say excuse me. They'll stand there until you get out the way. If you're looking at something, they expect you to move so they can look at it. That's in some places still to this day. And like I told you before, they leave they shit on the McDonald's table for black people to clean it.
N-
Simple shit like that still exists.
So
People
you,
still got it.
so you think an armed struggle rather than a pacifist struggle like Dr. King implemented would have worked? Where would we be today? You think?
I
We,
think we'd be better off because I don't think they'll take the chance to do anything to us because they know we're gonna somebody gonna get fucked up. It's that simple.
well, I don't. Well, the media, the the different. Uh, I just don't think the infrastructure will ever support that kind of leadership.
I agree.
I
I'm
just
with you. I agree with you.
I don't think that that's an option. I think that we got political rights, we got a political class, and I just don't think that we do enough to hold that political class accountable.
But you
Uh,
think you're a citizen though.
I do. I think
Because of the 14th.
well because of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment.
Okay.
The
So you
13th
don't think
took
that
away.
when an amendment contradicts an earlier amendment, it makes a difference?
Well, the, the people that founded this country created a document that referred
Mhm.
to us as those other people. So we were never created in we were never included in the founding document. We were mentioned, we were never included. The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment included us. Now, what
So
we
let's
do,
let's explore that. The 13th Amendment was what, for voting rights or what? No, for
freed the slaves.
huh?
It
Freedom of
freed,
speech.
no, the 13th Amendment freed the slaves, freed us from bondage.
So so the 13th Amendment freed us from bondage.
The 14th Amendment gave us rights as citizens.
And the 15th Amendment gave us the voting rights.
And now you would say to yourself, why did we need the 14th and the 15th Amendment? Why not just become citizens? So all the rights that were enumerated in the Constitution should have automatically applied.
Where does it say we became, because of the 13th Amendment, we were able to do what we wanted to do? It didn't say specifically what we gained. It said specifically what was non-constitutional, right?
It says we were we were included in the we were included as citizens of the United States of America.
Mm.
We got our status as
Mm.
citizens. The 14th, the 13th Amendment created us, took us from the status of slave
Mm.
because we were not recognized in the Constitution, only referred to as other persons,
Mm.
not as citizens. So the
Mm.
13th Amendment freed
At
us
what
from
point
that.
did they say? But who did they address this to, Claude? I mean, who? I mean,
That this is Congress. This is the federal government.
who
This
did
is
they say were no longer held in bondage?
well, in,
Who was no longer held in bondage?
well, the black folks. In order,
Yes.
remember, we fought a civil war over this question, right?
Yeah,
And
but
in
they
order,
never said black.
and no, they never said black.
They never said African American.
Okay, they never said African American. They never said black
They said slave.
because the Constitution is supposed to be colorblind. Okay,
But the law, the 13th Amendment, was supposed to be for us, for us, right? For the Negroes that or the Africans that were brought over and placed in slavery. Was
and
that
uh, and
for?
such other people like indentured servants.
So we couldn't have that shit on our own, like the
No,
Chinese.
no, we couldn't just. It couldn't just be for us
Why?
because
See, that's the question we have to ask. Why?
when that's the question you ask the political class. That's the question that they're
You
asking
have
of.
to ask that question 6 times.
That's the question they're asking Obama.
It-
Why do
so,
you do?
so
Why they're asking Kamala Harris? Why can't you
okay,
do
that's
something
2.
just for black folks? They ask Obama. Why
She
can't
says
you
she
do
can't
something?
do it. He
Right.
never did.
She says she can't do it.
So you think they lying? No, they can't. Because there's nothing ever been done for us individually, like they've done for the Chinese, they've done for the Japanese, like they've done for other cultures that migrated to the United States.
And that's why they changed the rules. We don't really have black representatives. We don't have majority black districts anymore. They did away with
Because
that.
there's
We have
nothing.
majority minority districts. And we are just one of many minorities.
What's the
In,
minority? If the minority is contingent on us getting something in San Antonio, we never get anything, and we haven't gotten anything because of that. Because they use the word minority
well, you included in that definition.
with the Mexican, which is 90% of the population here in San Antonio.
And
So,
Barbara Hawkins represents you.
mhm.
Represents the minority folks. Well, it's kind of an oxymoron in San Antonio because the whole city is majority minority.
Mhm.
Well,
So all I'm
it's
saying is there's
okay.
nothing.
Well, let me ask you a question. Is San Antonio a majority minority city or is it a majority? What is San Antonio?
It's a majority minority because if they wrote a contract in the city and they said 33% of city contracts will go to minorities,
So
black
why do you
kids,
need that if minorities are the majority?
you needed to appease black people. That's the only reason. You ain't using it to appease the Mexicans. You're using it to appease the blacks, who think we won because they said 33% of the contracts will be awarded to minority holders.
Well, what's a minority? It's white women.
Yeah, everybody will get it. The same people that's been getting it. It's a facade. They
So,
make it believe, they make it look good, but it ain't no good
so
for
they
us.
have a majority minority contracting allocation in San Antonio.
We get nothing. Absolutely.
So, so, so say you got 100% pie,
Hmm?
and you got black folks, Hispanic folks, and white folks, white women.
Hmm.
Let's just say those are the predominant minorities. What percentage of that does black folks get? If it's
None. You get
100%.
nothing. You might get less than 0.00001%. You might get one out of two, two out of 1,000 if you that
So
lucky.
is it in proportion to the black population?
Hell to the no. There ain't no proportion when black people don't get shit. Ain't no proportion.
No,
You
because
got, we can't
see,
be categorized with everybody else. That's all I'm trying to
so they
say.
don't break it down by how many black folks. It's minority. So
We're part of a big conglomeration. We don't
so
even make a dent. We don't
so
make no difference.
so if blacks get 1% and Hispanics get 36% of 100% pie, they met their minority goal. Cause
Yes.
and then white women get 50%, they met their
Still met
minority
it.
goal.
They still met it. The black people don't get anything, and the Hispanic
That that would
get it, and
that
the white women get it. They still met the goal.
that explains why black people. I think the guy I heard on a state level gets less than 2% of the contracting from
They
the
think
state of Texas.
that's true, and it never got more than 2%. Never, and they never will,
And
because
yet,
we don't. We're so quick to take the damn peanuts when we can have the whole fucking farm.
no, I think we're so quick to include. I think that as we've never we've never been looked at as a whole when it comes to equality in this
Because
country.
you're not citizens, Claude.
Well, we are citizens.
I, I mean,
My passport says citizen of the United States of America.
so how can you be black and a citizen?
Because that's what my passport says.
How can you be African American and a citizen?
Because that's what my passport says. My
You got
passport
it
says,
handy,
I don't have it handy. My passport says U.S. citizen.
but it doesn't say black.
No, because I'm a U.S. citizen.
It
It
doesn't
doesn't.
say African American.
It doesn't say white. It doesn't say Italian. It doesn't say Jew.
No, a white passport says white.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it does, man. I saw it.
It
I
does.
saw it.
I have to pull out my passport and look at it. I
Yours
just saw
don't.
the. I just saw U.S. passport.
Yours might just say U.S. passport, but when you go to another country and then you meet all these different conglomerations of people, and these people say, "Well, I'm black," or "Well, I'm Chinese, I'm Korean, I'm Japanese."
Let me
I
let me
went
ask,
to
let me ask you a
uh,
question. Let me ask you a question. If we had taken up arms, you think the federal government would have sent troops into the South?
hell yeah, they would have knocked us out quicker than we've been getting knocked out.
So you think the federal government would have got involved in the state?
What do they always say? A fast nickel is worse than a slow dime or some shit like that.
So why didn't they get involved when we didn't take up arms?
That I don't know, because I guess the white folks already did what the damage that they wanted that they have done.
I mean, if we had taken up arms and fought back,
The
and,
federal
and
government would have taken up arms against us.
so you think the federal government would have taken up arms?
Yes,
They would have nationalized the state militia
yes,
to go after us.
absolutely, 100%. They would have. We cannot. We're not represented on a national level or international level. We're only
So you're saying that if Jackson, Mississippi, if all the blacks had taken up arms, or in Selma, instead of passively marching across the bridge, or passively going to the courthouse, everybody had been armed, and if
What
we
if,
had to shoot our way in, the
you
federal
know,
government.
Rico, you know the answer. Look at everything that has happened over this country when one white person feel violated, when one white man get killed by a black man. What happened?
Let me tell you this story
Everybody
real
in
quick.
the died.
The federal building in Selma is right across from the county courthouse.
Mhm.
When Jim Clark and I forget the other guy's name were beating black folks with billy clubs in front of the courthouse, the federal FBI agents and federal folks were sitting on the steps of the federal building just watching it happen.
There you go.
Now, they were violating black people's right to register to vote, and the federal
You
government right across the street
you
looking
think
at
they
it.
didn't know about January 6th? It's still happening. It don't change. You think they didn't know that those black people was about to march? That was the second attempt when they walked across the Edmund Pettus Bridge.
Oh, yeah, they knew. I mean, yeah, yeah,
But why didn't they intervene? They sit back and watch all those black people get slaughtered and beat and hospitalized.
because because it was
Hmm?
a state. It was a state, but it was
You
the
don't.
state. It was the state enforcing its laws. So they claim. I mean, George Wallace sent the state troopers because that was a state highway, and the marchers were impeding uh,
So the federal
traffic,
government don't have a right to
and
send troops,
they didn't have a permit to march.
but they
So
sent all them people down to Neshoba, Mississippi. That was federal. They didn't
right,
have a permit to do that.
yeah, because you had a Jewish guy killed, and his family had influence.
But if it was just a black and a white
You
guy,
think they would have came down just for the one black guy that got killed?
no, because it was hundreds before him.
Right, thousands before him.
No, no, they wouldn't have.
They didn't come down when Jimmy Lee Jackson got killed, but
Mm,
you heard about the white Unitarian ministers in Selma that got killed.
mm.
That was all over the news. And so you think black life mattered anymore now? Do you think it matters anymore now than it did then?
Do you think Emmett Till killers walked out of court slapping each other's backs for no reason?
And
They
never
already knew they were not going to get processed.
never got tried by the
No,
feds.
never. And the white woman that allegedly is guilty,
Lived out her whole life. She just I
and
hope
then
she
admitted
burning I hope
when
she
they're 80.
burning I hope she burning hell.
Yeah, it's
But
sad, huh?
I'm,
But it's
I'm just I'm just saying that since we and this is where I think me and you could differ just a little bit in strategy. I think the masses of black people gotta stand up, vote, and aggressively hold their elected officials accountable. Our elected officials can basically do nothing, and we just keep electing them.
yep. We don't have
I
enough.
mean, they don't pass not one piece of legislation, and they keep getting elected and elected and elected. They don't have no. They don't have no strategy meetings. When the last time your black elected official in San Antonio had a strategy meeting with black folks?
I think the opportunities
When
are
when the
there.
last time when the last time has the Texas Legislative Black Caucus did a listening tour around the state to see what black folks think, to hear
They
from
don't.
everyday black people.
They don't.
But they're
But
going
they
to
have. I think this is what I think, Claude. They have the opportunity. They put all this information out, right? They can do this A, B, C, D.
they're
But then
putting out
they put $100,000 in this thing they finna do on the A. They promote everything. They put it on TV commercials, and then when it's time for the event to occur, we as constituents don't show up. I think that's where the problem is. The
yeah, but I mean,
apathetic view of
but
what's
but
happening.
but that if
We
but
made
if
it.
there's no history, I mean, obviously the first time is probably not going to be as well attended as the second or the third or the fourth time. I'm saying that there is no concerted effort on the part of the black political class that we created as a result of our sacrifices to take it to that next level, to address these structural racist institutions and policies and procedures that that we elected him to, that we sacrificed, bled, and died to get them in office. Now you got the Congressional Black Caucus. I don't know whether you've ever been to the Congressional CBC weekend. I guess that's
No.
their version of it. But how many black folks gonna go to Washington D.C. and pay $200, $300 for a room a night?
And $1,000 for a plate.
Right, and $1,000 for a dinner. So who is it really for? And so, and then yet they won't them same people want black people to turn out and vote in this presidential election.
We've
Pre-
known about this presidential election for at least 4 years, right?
well,
Three
yeah,
three
four
years
years.
and 7 months. We've known about it. So why is it that only 6 months ago or this year we started to pay particular attention to the election? Why? What happened the other 3 years? Why didn't we do anything? We should never sit down, but we sit down after each election up until about 6 months beforehand, and then we start putting all this focus on what we need to be doing, but we don't do nothing. We should have
Well,
started after the election.
who should have started?
We as a culture, black people.
How should we? How should that? What does that look like?
It looks like when what we look like doing right now. If we out there soliciting votes right now, we should never stop. We should be soliciting votes in February of 2025. The same way we're doing it now with the same vigor. We should be educating people on civics in February, just like we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
We stop and we won't start up again until a month or 2 or 6 months before the next election. That's our problem. We don't figure that we should consistently do something. We do it on a spur of the moment, and we just get more intensified the closer we get to it, just like the news. And the news really dictates how we operate. Because if we got it up here, we operate all year long. But if we don't, we operate with, oh, the news said this, so we need to do something. Anyway, let me say a few more things, and then we'll give you the closing remark. There are 433 million guns in America. I got to put these little facts out, and then we're done. Um, there are 77 million guns within white folks' hands. That's 38% of the 204 million white folks. There are 91 million guns in black folks' hands. And there's 24% of the black folks' population of 41.5 million, or I mean 9.8 million, I'm sorry. So all I'm saying is if everything went between white and black, we fucked because 77 million guns versus 9.8 million guns, that's a big ass discrepancy. Big one. And we will be in a hell of a situation if it became a black and white war. We would, because we can't stand a chance. You know, the time of taking our brooms to the front door is over, but people still think that's a good defense. But you'll find out that it's not. That's my closing. So Claude, take us home.
Well, I think one of the things we need to start doing is leaving some resources for our listeners to kind of look up and go to. And on the subject of Negroes and the gun, I want to refer. And I want to disclaim I don't make any money off this. I'm not promoting the author or anything. But a good book that talks about what we just talked about is Negroes and the Gun, the Black Tradition of Arms. I would encourage readers to go out and if you can, you can probably find this at your library or your local bookstore or definitely on Amazon. But it kind of encapsulates what we just talked about. And if you want to know about the other side of the story when it comes to the struggle, whether it's Dr. King or people like R.N. Williams that promoted the use of guns as a defense mechanism, I would look up this book, Negroes with Guns, and that was by Robert F. Williams. I discovered him when I was working with the NAACP, and it tells the history of one of the most active chapters in Monroe, North Carolina. And it's an excellent book if you want to read about the called Negroes with Guns by Robert L. Williams. And that's basically that's basically what I want to leave you with.